Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. Well, it's been a long time, but we're finally going back. Back to the future, all the way to the year 2000. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Timmer will be far too confident that people still remember this bit from the Conan O'Brien show. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. Seriously, I've gotta come up with some new material.
Yes, we're finally taking another look at Battle Force 2000.
And this time we're talking about an exceptional guy. Well, in one way anyway.
So meet Dodger. This figure was released in 1987 with all original body parts. And let's start with its overall look, shall we? Does it seem a little familiar? Like it may have been inspired by something if I'm being generous, or ripped off from something if I'm being less generous?
Let me give you a visual aid.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious Dodger here was based on the Colonial Marines from Aliens. Not that this is a bad thing, it's a great look, but pretty damn lazy of Hasbro. Divorced from the source material, I do really like how this figure looks. It's both realistically futuristic and subdued. It also looks a bit like it's been made from salvaged parts, like a sort of post-apocalyptic chic.
Looking at the detailing, it's pretty damn great.
There's lots of little gizmos on his shoulder, clamps? Yeah, those grey bits look like they've been stitched on there or something, reinforcing that post-apocalyptic look. He has a bunch of pouches on his belly, but they're pretty subdued, so I wouldn't call them Liefeld-esque. I don't know what those 3 straps on his right arm are supposed to be. Maybe he wants to be able to tell the time in 3 different time zones or something. There's grey camo on his helmet and legs that looks pretty good, and his upper waist has a mesh texture, just like his undershirt. The only problem is that they're supposed to be the same piece of clothing, but the waist is colored slightly differently.
All these little details really add to the figure.
But the best bits are the tiny red lights on his shoulder and helmet. That's damn impressive for being such a small area to work with. Dodger came with just 1 accessory.
Well, technically 2, but we'll get to that.
He had a futuristic looking rifle to complete that Colonial Marines look.
We got tactical smart missiles, phase plasma pulse rifles, we got sonic, electronic, ball breakers.
You know, it's funny that with all those badass Space Marines, the most badass character was Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Oh yeah, this whole review was made just so I could use that horrible pun. You're so welcome.
His other accessory, sort of, is the microphone on the side of his helmet. It is removable, but it's on there pretty damn tightly, so I don't want to take it off in case it breaks. This also means that for once you're less likely to find this figure without it, unlike practically all of the other microphone accessories out there. Overall, it's a great looking figure and a good example of a futuristic looking soldier done right.
Which was a huge relief to me because Hasbro sure as hell has shown it can get it wrong.
I present this picture without further comment. Dodger got 1 more figure in the original line, so meet Dodger version 2. This figure was released in 1990 with no original body parts, and he was no longer Battle Force 2000 because that team wasn't a thing anymore in 1990. But he was part of another sub-team now, the Sonic Fighters.
Oh joy!
It's funny, but almost everything about this figure is slightly worse than the original. The color scheme is more eclectic and gaudy with the gold paint and everything. Seriously, the only soldier that should be showing that much bling is B.A. Baracus. And the new red color on the pouches makes them stand out too much. Also, the paint applications are less detailed, as there's no more camo pattern and the previous red lights on the shoulder and helmet are unpainted. The only good thing I can say about the colors compared to version 1 is that the green on the waist now does match the torso.
As far as his accessories go...
Remember how I said with version 1 how his microphone was so well attached it was very difficult to lose? Well, frickin' Hasbro themselves managed to lose it, as this version doesn't come with it. Meaning he's now got 2 ugly pegs on the side of his helmet that do nothing but stand out. I'm assuming this was done to cut costs, just like having the entire figure being an existing mold of the first.
And they wanted to cut costs because the Sonic Fighters gimmick was already expensive.
All of these figures came with backpacks.
Well, backpacks.
I mean, look at the size of these things. They had to be that big because they produced sound effects when you pushed buttons. Money well spent, I'm sure we can all agree. He did still have his badass rifle in black this time, as well as several other weapons. All recycled molds because cost cutting again. So this was sort of a preview of the generic weapon trees later figures would come with. Overall, I'm not impressed with the second figure.
Not impressed at all.
And those were the only toys Dodger got in the original line. He did get 2 more figures. In 2017 there was a convention exclusive, which I don't have, so I can't really comment on it, except to say it looks nice. There was also an updated Sonic Fighters one, part of the last line of figures the Collectors Club would produce. Like the original, I'll say it also looks less nice. In conclusion, the first figure is the best and remains to this day pretty damn awesome.
With that, let's talk about the character, starting with the file card.
It states he's the Marauder driver, a motorcycle tank hybrid thing I don't have, so I can't mock it right now, and that makes me sad. Oh yeah, every member of Battle Force 2000 was a vehicle driver that didn't come with a vehicle. You had to buy those and the figures separately, though they were available in 2-packs or on single cards.
Still, it was a pretty annoying way for Hasbro to make more money by not including the drivers with the vehicles.
Anyway, Dodger's real name is Richard Renwick. I checked, but it doesn't appear to be based on a real person. I mean, I found plenty of people with that name, but nobody famous or connected to Hasbro, so it's not an homage.
How the hell did people figure this out before the internet anyway? You had to have had an uncle at Nintendo, I mean Hasbro or something.
Anyway, again, the file card tells us very little about Dodger himself. Most of the text is half praising modern technology and half crapping on it. The first paragraph describes all the modern gizmos a vehicle driver has, like holographic night vision goggles, pulse Doppler radars, and more stuff that sounds like it would give Captain Picard a headache.
Oh, and Dodger is an expert in all that stuff.
The second paragraph then says all that stuff can break down or malfunction, so Dodger is a good enough driver, he doesn't need any of that crap. This may or may not be a dig at the ridiculousness of the Battle Force 2000 vehicles. So the only thing we learn about Dodger is that he's an expert on technology, and that he doesn't need it.
In short, he's a land of contrasts.
The second file card, the Sonic Fighters one, is quite a bit different, but before I get to that, I want to point out the headshot and the card art itself show him having his goddamn microphone. I gotta assume this has led to people thinking their toy was incomplete when it wasn't. This also means that not including the microphone must have been a running change. As for the card itself, it doesn't mention much about him being a vehicle driver other than being a heavy ordnance operator, but his main passion is now lasers. That would make him a perfect fit for the cartoon series.
Too bad he wasn't in any of the cartoons.
Yeah, neither Dodger nor Battle Force 2000 appeared in them, though the team, well the vehicles mostly, were animated for commercials. Funnily enough, the card still has the same techno mumbo-jumbo, but now it's in service of laser-guided weapons, not a vehicle, and no mention is made of the stuff breaking down.
Instead, the second paragraph tells us what Dodger's job is now.
He has to go into the field and paint a target with lasers so it can be taken out. And given how close he has to be to the target, often shrapnel will rain down around him, which he has to avoid, and that's why they call him Dodger. Okay, that makes no sense since he already had the name when he was in Battle Force 2000. So even though he has the same name and code name, he might as well be a different character. One bit of trivia is that his security number is different on the second file card.
But don't worry, the card is ready for my nitpicking.
Oh yeah, the card itself points out the number was changed to prevent security breaches. This is like one of the weirdest asides ever on a file card I've ever seen. And that's it for the file cards. Dodger is either an expert driver who doesn't need tech, or an expert in lasers that does need tech.
Like I said, land of contrasts.
Since Dodger doesn't have a cartoon section in this review, that just leaves the comics.
Oh boy.
Okay, Dodger and the rest of Battle Force 2000 were introduced in issue 68, and the first time we see him, he's getting the crap beaten out of him by Avalanche, and then also by Blocker.
Yeah, great introduction there.
Oh, there's a reason. They are being bombarded by Cobra's sonic waves, making them angry, and when they figure that out, things are okay again. The team then comes in at the end of the issue to save the day and their fellow Joes. Later, Battle Force 2000 is involved in the Cobra Civil War, but are introduced as, like, yeah, those guys are there. And we later see their vehicles. Yeah, with the exception of Maverick and his jet, they barely get a cameo. Though Dodger himself does get to play taxi driver for Hawk, so that's something, I guess?
Okay, not really.
Dodger does later get his face on the cover of an issue though, number 81 in fact, where Battle Force 2000 takes on the Dreadnoks. Dodger doesn't do much in this issue though, and the fight on the cover doesn't really happen. The next time Dodger shows up is in issue 113. And on the cover, the question is asked, the death of Battle Force 2000?
Yeah, that's not a very promising cover.
I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. Without doing any fighting, the whole Battle Force 2000 team gets killed.
Wait, did I say the whole team? Oh no, one member survives.
And it's frickin' Dodger. Yeah, he's the only one left. So, does that mean he gets some righteous payback? Does he get to avenge his fallen teammates?
Nope.
He goes to the Joe camp and is never seen in the comics again. No closure, no character growth.
So why the hell did he survive then anyway if they weren't gonna use him anymore?
Well, here we have to circle back to the toys. Because Dodger is also the only member of Battle Force 2000 that got a second figure in the original line. Well, in the retail line anyway. DJ did get a mail-away second figure, but that was years later. Years after he was dead. And that Dodger figure was still available when this storyline happened. By this point, the comic was allowed to kill off Joes that wouldn't be getting any new toys, but Dodger didn't fit that criteria.
That's the real reason anyway, but I much prefer to think that a writer thought it was funny that the guy called Dodger would make it.
From what we could see of him in the comic, Dodger didn't really get a personality or character development. Hell, the thing he's most notable for is being the only surviving Battle Forcer. And that was Dodger. A good first figure, a great first figure even, and a mediocre at best second one. But one that saved his life in the comic. There's not much to say about him as a character, but at least he looked cool.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?